on the list for 10 years waiting for their apartment to come up, and then all of a sudden, instead of you getting your apartment, the one that gets the apartment is someone from the homeless list. Is that the fair thing, the way to do things or not?
I think most
Now,
people
the
really
reality
think
is
it's a priority.
they're both priorities, exactly. You know,
I did want to mention with housing, I mean, first of all, I think some of these recommendations here go along with what you're saying about, you know, just thinking about how dollars are being used and what's going to be the long-term impact, like emergency rental assistance. You know, as a one-time payment to keep people in their homes for people who get paid on an ongoing basis. What we've also seen is that the line item for local rent supplement program has been cut out in the mayor's budget and is being taken from the trust fund, which we think probably means a phasing out of LRSP eventually. And, you know, with all the people on the wait list, that's a real problem. And then at the same time, I think that there needs to be funds in the trust fund, particularly for tenant purchase. It's been a really proven way to preserve affordable housing at a really low cost.
yeah.
And that there's, you know, there's a timeline on it. If we don't do it when there's that opportunity is missed. And you know, I did want to say we all really support revenue enhancements, and we're going to make sure that people are turning out to support the tax increases and make sure that there is the revenue, because if the mayor's proposal doesn't happen, that's another huge set of cuts.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know where where the council member falls on?
Well, I know the main place that he's at is he wants to see the government become more efficient.
Sure.
And it's one of those things that, you know, from our side of overseeing agencies, it's surprising that more people are not aware of this, but if you go into many of the government offices, you will see that in the prior years we've reduced the funding for certain programs, yet the staff for those programs are still there. So it's questionable whether you need the size of staff that you needed when the programs were fully subsidized. The other issue, and it's something I've noticed a lot, is positions have been abolished. And the way it was done in the last 2 years is if a position was not filled, rather than fill them, they abolished the position. So there was a savings in the budget from the position being abolished. Well, when you look at the office space, you still have the same number of desks, and the government, where it's renting space, it's renting the same size of space. And so Drew's been saying, we need to examine that. You know, there should be a certain amount of square footage per employee, and if we have excess space, get rid of it. So before, you know, he sees human services cuts, he believes that we've got to examine our own house and streamline our operations. And one of the things that he's talked about is the possibility, if you look at economic development in the city, you probably remember the days when 14th and Florida Avenue was really in a decline, and the government built the Reeve Center there, and the result of the Reeve Center's economic development happened, and now it's a really stable community. Well, St. believes that we should have the Metro too, but there are other areas of town that could use that, so why don't we, you know, look at selling the Reeve Center possibly, using that money to take a building that is in Ward 7 or 8, move the government there, and use that as a location where economic development would start to develop. Because where you move a couple hundred of employees, there's a need for restaurants, there's a need for coffee places, and he'd like to see that kind of development.
Well, they're doing that in Ward 8. They've already done it. Moving the Homeland Security over there.
But then again, that's like a self-contained.
And Goodhart Road, I heard. I haven't been over there in a while. They built that up.
Yeah, DHCD.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's.
But you've got.
I don't know what the deal is, but.
You've got buildings in certain areas that, you know, we may may not need to have the government workers in that location anymore. We could shut that operation, move it to another community, get economic development going there, and
Yeah, like, you're right, like Department of Housing and Community Development moved to.
Mhm.
Can I ask you a question?
What,
As far
revenue
as-
enhancements? Sorry,
No, go ahead.
just because the question on, does he support the tax increases?
it's the last thing that he wants to do, and he feels that he would only support it if it was at his pay grade.
Oh, well, that's fine.
If what?
Which is what? Does
At
he have a
his pay
second?
grade,
Counting it just as his council member position.
yeah. But
So he would push to have it, the
but
actual,
he thinks the members voting on something like that should be impacted by it.
well, most of them have a second job, right, because it's a part-time
So-
position, so most of them are actually impacted.
Yeah, but.
Or married or something, and,
Yeah,
so I
but
think
he-
actually the majority would be impacted.
He really feels that the emphasis has to be on finally looking at the district government operations.
But if he doesn't support tax increases, that's another 35 million you have to make up.
Except
And
he may-
inefficiencies, finding, that much in inefficiencies seems pretty difficult.
Yeah,
I
and-
think in a long-term period, of course, like, that's definitely a big goal, but.
Well,
I don't necessarily agree. I'll tell you.
Hey, how's
Hey,
everybody doing
alright.
today?
One that isn't in our field right here is building inspections, for example. Right now, if you're renovating a townhouse or your own, yeah, it has to be a big renovation. You have the choice of calling a city inspector to come over. It usually takes 2 to 3 weeks to get the inspector to show up, which means that you can't, if you did the plumbing, you can't move on to electrical work because the electrical means you're going to hide some of the plumbing. So the plumbing inspector has to show. Many people in the city now, and developers, are getting private inspectors to come over. It costs them money to do that. In other jurisdictions in Maryland and Virginia, a trained electrician or a trained plumber can sign off that they have done it according to code, and there isn't need for the inspector there.
Although DC
There's
has
an
18
operation.
inspector vacancies that are being filled right now.
Yeah, but, there are options for efficiencies within
Yeah.
the government.
It's just a lot of money to make up with inefficiencies. If you're really gonna focus on helping to make services and housing. I think.
yeah,
it has to be some revenue.
but I'm sure you saw at the meeting yesterday. There's a lot of emphasis put on how that we need more affordable housing, because if you're going to end homelessness, the main reason for homelessness in this country is the lack of affordable housing. That's a national stat, and yet the ICH has no authority, to mandate the creation of any affordable housing, and they sure don't have any money to create affordable housing. And, that's where we're counting on the housing production trust funds, to create that affordable housing. But you can't really end homelessness unless you create enough affordable housing for people, and so we don't have enough prevention, to prevent folk from becoming homeless. And my personal opinion is that landlords should actually be forced to tell people what's there for them, tell them about things like ERAP, tell them what their rights are, and not violate their rights. Because I've met people who have been wrongly evicted and they didn't find out their rights until after they were out of the place, and so I think that we can prevent a lot of homelessness by getting involved with the landlords, and by having some power to mandate things, and so that came up a lot in the ICH meeting yesterday. I'm not sure if you were there when folk kept saying it again and again, but anyway, I think that we don't have all the pieces to the puzzle put in place yet if we don't have somewhere to move people. So like I said when I started, you don't have enough prevention on the one end, you don't have enough affordable housing to move them into on the other end, and then when they make do by creating their own encampments, that gets torn down, and then the shelters are being closed, and so everything's being shut down for people across the board, and so I actually favor heavier regulations, because I think that if you regulate the mainstream services that are out there, the mainstream landlords, that actually makes it where you as a government don't need to have all this funding. You can just regulate commerce as opposed to trying to find government money to house people. And so if you have stricter rent control laws and stricter other regulations, then that will help the broader DC community before they become homeless. I mean, are you with me on that?
Well, it depends on whether you're talking about the ERAP, definitely. I mean, that's been very successful in reducing homelessness.
One thing you did make me think of, though, is I think...
A
in
lot of the
talking about-
ERAP we got was the federal money from the stimulus package.
Wonderful. But is also another potential revenue is that there are housing and code inspections which can actually keep people in their homes, keep stable, affordable housing. For one thing, are on the decline because there's not enough inspectors. But the other point is that I think the actual code isn't enforced enough, and there's kind of a disconnect, it seems like, between DCRA and the Office of Administrative Hearings, but that fines are levied and then not actually collected by the city. And I think that's another area where we actually could be getting more revenue by just enforcing something that we already have and collecting those fines and collecting the liens that are put on property.
And I think that's part of Mary Shea's legislation on centralizing all city collection efforts instead of each agency trying to follow up and collect bills there.
Yeah.
But I think
And that's one of the efficiencies in the
Yeah,
system,
exactly.
too.
That's what I was thinking when you were...
But I think also looking at this problem is the role of the deputy mayor for planning and economic development. I think we've seen and heard that the primary focus had been too much on real estate transactions and development, and not job creation. But I think the mandate should also be there for, not only is it, economic development, it should be job creation, but it also should be affordable housing. I think those should be the three tenets of which the deputy mayor for planning and economic development operates, because I think over the previous administrations, we've seen it just based off of development in real estate, and there was not that conscious effort for job creation or to make sure that that they're expanding the stock of affordable
Is
housing.
there someone dealing with the empty space